Good morning. What a gorgeous day. I finally feel that summer is here, and we are definitely grateful for that, and hopefully it's the dawn of new positive energy for all of us. So it's one of the most memorable, famous, and immortalized scenes in the Bible. King Saul and the Jews are facing their vicious enemy, their hated enemy, the Philistines. And out comes a giant who's 12 feet tall, Goliath, the mightiest of all warriors. And he's won many battles. And every day for 40 days, he comes out with his big armor and shield and sword, and he taunts the Jewish people. He says, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to murder you. And he keeps on taunting King Saul, send one of your warriors out to fight me. And every day and every night this happens, every morning and evening. And the Jewish people are terrified. No one wants to go. And along comes this young shepherd, King David, who then was only David, whose yahrzeit is on Shavuot. He was a little guy, and he came to bring food to his brothers who were at the front line. And he hears Goliath taunting the Jewish people. And he says to King Saul, let me go, I'll go fight him. The little short guy. But King Saul reluctantly agrees. He doesn't have an option. And he offers David his armor. And David says, I don't want your armor. I want to go with my sling, my shepherd sling. And he takes 5 little stones. And he comes to face Goliath. And Goliath taunts him. He says, what do you think I am, a dog? You come to me with your sling? He says, come close, I'll feed you to the birds. And David screams out to him, you come with your armor and your sword, and I come with the God of all armies, the God of all gods, who will make me victorious. And David takes a stone, and with a sling, with one little stone, he hits Goliath, who falls. He takes his sword, he grabs Goliath's sword, and he kills him. And the Philistines run away, and the Jews are victorious. This has become ingrained in the way we see things. In fact, Michelangelo, when he paints his famous sculpture of David, when he makes his famous sculpture of David, he has a little sling in his hand. He has the sling in his hand, commemorating this time. And it's become throughout the times. People have always used it as a rallying cause, that when you come with the truth, even David could overwin the mammoth Goliath. The small David could overwin Goliath. But I want to take you on a little bit of a psychoanalysis, as everything in the Torah. What's going on here between David and Goliath? And what's it feeding us here 1,700 years before Sigmund Freud? The Torah, which always gives us the deeper psychoanalysis of everything, tells us the story behind this. And of course, at the center of this, like at the center of every issue, is the Jewish mother. So, the Talmud gives us a little bit of a hint. The Talmud tells us that why did he come for 40 days? To represent the 40 days that Moses was at Mount Sinai. And why did he come morning and evening Goliath to taunt the Jews? Because that's when the Jewish people say Shema, in the morning and in the evening. What are we to make of this with what the Talmud tells us? What was Goliath, some Orthodox Jew that came to daven morning and evening and say Shema? What's going on here? What's the message? And what was bothering and what perturbed Goliath that the Torah is insinuating in this Talmudic explanation? And to understand this, we need to understand the history and go back to who and where Goliath and David come from. Goliath and David were no strangers. They were cousins, in fact. And let me tell you the story. On Shavuos, as I mentioned yesterday, we read the book of Ruth. And in the book of Ruth, we read the powerful story of Elimelech and Naomi, which takes place 973 BCE. And takes place in the time of the judges in the land of Israel, which was impoverished. And Elimelech was a wealthy man, and he couldn't be troubled with all the beggars coming to beg him and all the pleading. And he decides to move to Moab, which wasn't today modern Jordan. And he moves to Moab, and tragedy strikes Elimelech. He loses his wealth, and then Elimelech dies. Elimelech passes away, His two sons, who came with him and his wife Naomi, Machlon and Kilion, they marry two Moabite princes, the daughters of the king Eglon. One marries Ruth and one marries Orpah. But sooner than later they both die. And here is Naomi. She's a widow and she's childless in a strange and foreign land. Naomi decides to go back to the land of Israel. And after finishing the time of Shiva, she starts making her trek. She takes 40 steps with her two daughters-in-law, Naomi, and with her two daughter-in-laws, Ruth and Orpah. And then she turns to her daughters-in-law and says, listen, I'm an old woman, full of misery and has stricken me in my life. I'm going back to my people, but you're both young. Stay here in Moab. Stay with your wealthy king, the father, with all the future that holds for you in your life. Why would you come with me to a land of poverty, to a people of poverty? Stay here. And Orpah listens to her mother-in-law. She kisses her and she says goodbye. But Naomi's other daughter-in-law, Ruth says, oh no, and in the famous biblical words, she says, where you will go, I will go. Your land is my land, your people are my people. Where you will lie, I will lie. Where you will be buried, I will be buried. I am going with you. And for the first time in history, a daughter-in-law doesn't want to leave her mother-in-law. And she goes with her mother-in-law and she comes back to Israel. And of course, as we spoke yesterday, the history of how she meets, how she meets Boaz, and she marries this man Boaz, and she marries this man Boaz, and from Boaz comes King David, who was the leader of the Jewish people, and Mashiach will come from King David. So Orpah was the mother of Goliath, or as we say in Hebrew, Goliath. And Ruth was the great-grandmother of David HaMelech, of King David. But what's going on here? So the rabbis tell us, what was the struggle of Orpah? What was going through her mind? Imagine this. You see, Orpah was torn between two worlds. From one side was the world of Naomi, her sweet mother-in-law. Naomi means sweetness. She saw the way Naomi lit Shabbos candles and the tears rolling down her cheeks with such sincerity and love. She saw an impoverished people who didn't have it easy, but had so much meaning in their life and commitment. She saw a woman who her inside, her spirituality, her holiness was complete. She saw a woman who she loved her gefilte fish, her Shabbos, her resting on Shabbos and her spending time with the Almighty. She saw the beauty of Naomi that she really loved. She internalized this world of truth where the soul spoke to you, where commitment was about something deeper than just what you had today. She saw her mother-in-law from one side, Ruth. But on the other side, Orpah saw the world she came from. A world of promiscuity, a world of wealth, a world of in man's image God has created, where what I want today becomes what I do, which I celebrate the eye and the temptations of worldly matters. It's much easier. You see, our bodies are selfish. And for the short term, it's much easier to just be and live for the moment and see the joy in having fun without thinking about the depth of your soul, about the spirituality, about the meaning in your life. And Orpah was torn between these two worlds. Should she go with her mother-in-law to a world of challenge, of hardship, but a world of beauty, of inner holiness, a world of truth, a world of commitment, a world of love for spirituality? Orpah couldn't. As much as she loved her mother-in-law, as much as she enjoyed Judaism, she enjoyed a promiscuous, frivolous life full of materialism. She kissed her mother-in-law goodbye. It was a genuine kiss. She adored. She wished she could commit to the life of Ruth. She loved what Judaism had to live, but she couldn't commit to the uncertainty, to the unknown of the struggle, what it means to be committed deeply to your spirituality and to holiness and to live a life of principles and morals and values. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law and she said goodbye. Naomi's other daughter-in-law, Ruth, says, where you go, I will go. Where you die, I will die. She saw the depth and she was ready to commit, although throughout the hardships. And the Midrash says something very powerful. God said that when he came to the war of David and Goliath, he says, let the offsprings of the one who cleaved to Judaism overwin, or it said at the opposite, let the offsprings of the one who kissed fall victim to the offsprings of the one who cleaved. Orpah kissed, she said goodbye, she loved it genuinely, but she couldn't go. Ruth was the one who cleaved, and she said, this is who I'm going to be. And she went with her mother-in-law. What do you think happened? When Orpah went back to her life in Moab, she still struggled. Deep inside, she wondered if she should have made that commitment. She knew the beautiful life of holiness. She wanted to choose the easier way out, but deep down she had, and her kishkis had burned her. I think that Orpah was the mother of www.jewishguilt.com. All the Jewish guilt that Jew gets, right? If you eat too much, it's because of Jewish guilt. If you're on a diet, it's because of Jewish guilt. If you're messy, it's because of Jewish guilt. If you're too tidy, it's because of Jewish guilt. Everything is Jewish guilt. It's in our kishkis. Orpah lived with that in her. She kissed her mother-in-law goodbye. She appreciated it. But she lived with the decision she made to give up that life. And you know what they say? All the dichotomies, all the issues, all the struggles that we ourselves can't overcome, we give it to our children. They live in our children. Imagine if instead of living in the Philistines and Israel, Goliath lived in California and he went to his therapist for psychoanalysis and he spent a week by his therapist. His therapist would say, don't be angry at David. Don't be angry at the Jewish people. It's your mother that you're angry at. You're angry at the dichotomy of who your mother was. The split personality. That from one side she missed what she gave up, and the other side she celebrated the mundane, the material. You see, the Midrash says that how was Goliath able to have 40 days to fight and to taunt the Jewish people? It was in the merit of the 40 steps that his mother took. You see, Goliath came every day and taunted the Jewish people because he cared deeply. It bothered him deep in his kishkis. There was Judaism. And the only way that he could overcome it was to finally prove and eradicate that there is no God. Get the Judaism out of him. Get the guilt out of him. And that's why he came every morning and every evening when we said Shema for 40 days. He wanted to eradicate that guilt from within him, that Judaism that lay deep inside him. He wasn't indifferent to Judaism. He wasn't a typical anti-Semite. He hated it with a passion because it was deep in him. You know, I always say one of my favorite stories of the Jewish atheist who lives in Manhattan. And he wants a good school. He's an atheist, but he wants the best school for his kid because education, after all, he grew up Jewish. Education is the most important. So he sends his kid to the most preppy school in Manhattan that happens to be a Catholic school. Yeah, guess what? One day the kid comes home and tells his daddy, Daddy, I learned about the Trinity, the Mother, the Son. Goes on and on. The father turns white. This atheist, and he grabs his kid by the collar. He says, listen, kiddo. He says, there's one God, and we don't believe in him. Goliath was trying to uproot that deep bother within him that he got from his mother. And what does God say? Let the one who kissed, let their offsprings fall to the one who cleaved. You see why? Because it's nice to kiss something, but it doesn't come to cleaving, to commitment. What does it help if you kiss your wife and then you run off to Moab? Your wife wants you to live with her, to cleave with her, to be one, to share lives, to share ideas, to share the walk of how we walk our life. And isn't the same true in our own lives? Think about it this way. How many of us want to kiss Judaism? We want to go to Shalom Rosh Hashanah. We want to eat matzah ball soup on Friday night. We want chopped liver. We want the gefilte fish. We want matzah on Passover. We want to kiss Judaism. We want to remember those holidays from time to time. We want to do good in the world. But we don't want to cleave. We don't want a world where we have to make a commitment, where we're attached. But what do our kids need? Our kids don't need kissing. They don't need something that has no deeper commitment than passion. Our kids see through it. Our kids want parents that cleave, that are committed. And maybe, just maybe, that's why we read the book of Ruth on Shavuot, or study it. One of the reasons is because Ruth was a convert, and to show the power of converts. Another reason could be because King David's yard. But maybe, just maybe, it's because as we get ready to receive the Torah, God is sending us the message that we gotta be like Ruth, not like Arpa. We have to be like King David, not like Goliath. We have to cleave. We have to make a commitment that's out of passion. We have to walk the walk and talk the talk. We can't just get away with a pecking of a kiss and say, all right, I'll be here for high holidays. I'll make my kid a bar mitzvah and mortgage the bank. No, we have to be deeply committed. And that's why the deeper significance the Talmud teaches us of the 40 days that Goliath came every morning and evening when we said Shema, because deep within him was rooted that guilt of knowing that his mother loved Judaism, but she left it because she wasn't ready to commit, because it was too hard. May Hashem give us the strength to recognize in these challenging times what it means to be committed, what it means to be passionate about Judaism, what it means to celebrate Judaism in every aspect of our life, and to teach our kids that our Judaism is full of passion, full of commitment to the Torah that God gave us on Shavuot, to the commandments, to who we are as a people for thousands of years. Have a good day.